Hey guys, this week's episode of Chronic Trooper is going to be so special because I am doing a spotlight edition where you will meet a new chronic trooper and see what their challenges are within the arts industry. As if you know, my background is in theatre. So this week you are going to be meeting Melissa Brill. She's profoundly deaf and she's based in Kent, and today she is going to be sharing her struggles and highs of being profoundly deaf and a dancer. Hey Mel, thanks so much for joining me on this episode of Chronic Trooper. No worries. So let's get straight to it. So that was a little intro, so everyone knows a little bit about you. So let's get to the questions, to the good bit. So I was just wondering, how did you get into dance in the first place, and how long have you been dancing for?
I've been dancing for about 12 years, and I've got into it when I was starting drama and singing, and my teacher literally just said, I think you should start dancing and give it a go. So I just did. And then it obviously stuck, so good advice there, I suppose.
Like a hyper kid then, if she was like, you should do dance.
Yeah, because I was doing drama and singing lessons. She was literally just having a chat with my mum, and she was just like, I think she should start dancing, give it a go, see what she thinks. So yeah, I just
And then
I gave it a go because I first started giving it a go when I was in primary school, and I did a bit of ballet. I think the stretching freaked me out, I'm not gonna lie, but I did a ballet class, and I was like, never again. I'm not doing that ever again. But then about I don't know, a couple of years later, I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go, forgetting that I didn't like my first lesson. But then it stuck. So, but
sometimes it's just trying like a different style and stuff like
yeah.
that, because there's so many kinds of dance and stuff like that. So how old were you when you found out that you were deaf?
About 8. I don't think it's really exact age, but I think it's around when I was about 8 years old. So they don't really know why it happened, but however, my mum does know that I had a high temperature when I was a baby. So when I was little, I had a high temperature, and so my mum got in touch with the doctor, and he wouldn't come out and see me. So he just said, put her on paracetamol, give her some antibiotics, whatever, she'll be fine. Obviously not. Here we are.
They always do that. Like, even the same with me when I was being diagnosed with my conditions when I was a kid. It's especially when you're young, and like your mum's always like so upset because they're worried about their child, and you always
Yeah.
have the doctors, and I'm sure so many other people can relate. They're like, oh no, you're just a frantic mum, and it's like, if anyone knows their child when their child's still too young to almost know themselves, like, it's their mum. Like,
Yeah.
and they
I,
always just kind of push you away, and it's like,
I swear a lot of people that I've spoken to before have always said similar things, like I had a high temperature and now I've got this, or like something similar.
yeah,
It's something always has always happened when they're a baby, and now they've got something.
yeah,
Like it always seems to connect from when you're little somehow.
yeah. And for me, I just think, why would they not just almost like run all the tests first and then just find something earlier on, like just actually run tests properly? Because otherwise it's just that person's going to have to keep coming back, coming back, coming back, coming back. If you just kind of like do everything you can in the first instance, they'll
And then
probably end up actually having less work to do as a, I don't know, do you know what I mean, like with doctors and stuff like that. But yeah. So
yeah.
how did it affect you at school, like when you were at school as a child, like with learning and stuff like that?
When I was at school, I was mainly sat at the back, like at primary school. I was sat at the back, just randomly just sat at the back. There was no reason for that. But then the teachers started noticing that I was not listening, and they thought I was ignoring them, and they had a go at me a few times, thinking that I was ignoring them. But then when they realised that it wasn't actually that, they moved me to the front. So then that made it a bit better. But obviously that was before we properly found out about my disability. So that was just like that sort of time where everyone's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Noticing like these, all these different things, picking it up, but not actually diagnosing it yet. So then when they found out about that, then obviously I was brought more to the front in lessons. But when it got to more secondary school sort of time, I was at that funny age where I didn't want anyone to know about it. I didn't want anyone to like think I was different, or I just wanted to fit in. Like that was all I was about basically at
I think
school.
teenager, like
Yeah,
disabilities, you're a teenager, you just want to fit in with everyone else, don't
yeah.
you?
Like it wasn't cool
Yeah.
to be different at that age. I don't think it's cool for anyone at that age, really. If you're just that age, you just want to fit in. That definitely put me off, like my studies a bit as well, because I was making double the effort to fit in with everyone. It sounds so silly now when I
No,
repeat that.
not, not,
It sounds
when you
so
look at it in hindsight, you're like, that sometimes you just have to go through things, and you have to grow up and realize it on your own and stuff like
yeah.
that, don't you?
So I don't know why, like it sounds silly now, but at the time I just didn't want to, I didn't want to draw any attention towards it. There was all these people like teachers and that were trying to help me. The help was there. I just didn't want it. So I had a teacher of the deaf when I was in primary school as well, which helped me out. Like between lessons, or sometimes during lessons, they take me out and they just go through my hearing, have a look at my hearing aids, all the normal stuff, just to double check everything, because obviously I was too young to do that myself.
Yeah.
So they do all that while I was at school, make sure like everything was okay. And then in secondary school, I had a TA which would help me in lessons, which once again I didn't want. I would always like sort of ignore them or like be a bit rude because I
I
just
was
didn't
the same. I went through so many teaching assistants because I was like, don't like you, I don't like you, I don't like you.
Did she? One of them had a word with my mum once and was like, she's being so naughty. But then when I went to uni as well, I had a note taker for that. And uni was that time where I was sort of starting to accept it a little bit more, but still not like I am now. I was still a bit like, I don't know, like I still want to fit in a bit. Not as much as I was at school. I was a bit more accepting to the idea of someone helping me, giving me notes, because I couldn't always hear. But at the same time, they weren't my best friends, if you know what I mean. I was a bit like, okay, thank you, but I still want to fit in a bit.
What do you
But
think was the, sorry to put in that, what do you think was the turning point for you where you began to get more confidence and accept your disabilities and kind of be like, oh, this also does include asking for help, and that doesn't put me back or anything? What do you think was the thing that made that change for you?
I think it was about end of 2018. When I look back, I had a little look back to see, like on Instagram and stuff like that, when I started my Deaf Dancer Instagram account. That was the end of 2018, and that was the turning point for me to accepting it. That was when I started the CTC training program as well, because obviously Chris told us we should have more confidence in ourselves, we should find what makes us different, all these little tips and tricks to helping us accept and become more confident, all these different things. And that's what made me realise that I can accept myself and it makes me me. After all that, and that was end of 2018, so it took me a long time to fully accept it, but that helped when Chris was saying all that in the CTC intensive, that we need to find what makes us different and how we can accept ourselves. And that's why I made that account, because I was like, well, that's what makes me me. So
Well,
and
that's
then that helped me start accepting it too, because that was my name, like my Instagram name. So then I had to start accepting it, because that was what I was like displaying myself as. So I couldn't exactly be like deaf dancer, but I'm not deaf.
and I don't want to talk about it, but I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So it helped doing that as well.
Yeah, like I know there's so many things that people kind of think like with social media that are obviously negative and destructive, but there is so many positive sides to it. And you were speaking about CTC, and of course that's how I know you, because I'm Chris's associate, and that's when I kind of first like started speaking to you after the annual auditions.
Yeah.
And for me, I've never worked with, or up until that point, I have some students who are deaf now, but up until that point, I'd never really worked with anyone who had been deaf. And remember Chris saying, just so he could watch other people and stuff like that, he was like, oh, make sure you count in for Mel's group because it helps with for her hearing. And for me, that was like the first time that I'd ever like realized something that could help someone who's deaf when working with them, like with dance. So yeah, so what kind of how do I describe this? What kind of practical issues do you sometimes have with dance, being in the rehearsal room, in the dance class, with your hearing?
Most of the time with music, I struggle with some of the timings and like the rhythms and the beats. It just depends on the music that's being played. Depends on how many beats there are, what the lyrics are, basically how many like layers there are in a piece of music. If it's really simple, then I can understand it. But the more beats that are going on and the lyrics and then another bit and another bit, then I have to stop and sort of ask like questions like, oh, can you go over the timing of this because I'm not getting it, or basically ask more questions about the timing than I usually would if the music was a bit simpler. But with most routines anyway, I do have to be counted in just in case, so it puts me at ease as well, because a lot of people when they're dancing with people who have good hearing, when they're dancing, they can notice the change in the music when the routine starts, especially when the music has so many different layers. I don't know how, because obviously I wouldn't know how, but they just know when the music starts.
Yeah.
The routine, because they somehow hear all these little beats. So when the music is like that, I definitely have to be counted in just to put my mind at ease, save embarrassment for myself to be standing there like a plonk, like, oh, it started. Sorry. So I definitely have to have that happen. But it does make a difference as well when I know the lyrics of the music before, say before I go to a class or anything like that. If I know the song or I'm told what the song is, I can listen to it a few times. I get the lyrics up on my phone and I read the lyrics, so I know what the lyrics are saying, so I know what the music is about, what the meaning is behind it. Because when someone says, I've had this a lot in class, someone will say, listen to the lyrics this time. What do they mean to you? What is going on? And I'm stood there thinking, what are the lyrics? What are they saying? I don't know.
Social media is actually so helpful because loads of the time teachers and choreographers will like post what they're doing.
Yeah,
And
I
you
love it when they
take it into your own hands and just like, put yourself in a better place, what your needs are. That's so good.
Yeah, I love it when people do that. When I do my class as well, I make sure I post a song because I know that I appreciate it when other people do it. And so I find myself doing that as well. I find myself posting things when I do a class or whatever, when I'm teaching. I find myself posting things that I would appreciate if another teacher was posting them, because I know that if I was doing a class, I'd want to know the music beforehand so I can listen to the lyrics and also take a moment to listen to the backing beats, like time it, like especially when I'm choreographing, I'll listen to the music about 1,000 times just to know what the beat is, and I'll literally stand there and be like trying to copy it with like clapping or something until it's like embedded in my body. So
and that's how, like, even when I did like my teaching exams and stuff, like that's how you teach kids rhythms and stuff, like the clapping thing. It's so helpful.
Yeah, it literally helps so much because then you know what the beat is, and if they're choreographing to the beat or the lyrics, you know one or the other. So it's really good when they post the music so that I can figure out what's going on. So then I'm not embarrassing myself in the class.
Yeah, and that's like still so helpful for like everyone, not just if you don't have great hearing, but people who have good hearing. It's like it's just that extra little bit of like confidence as well. And because sometimes some choreographers will be like freestyle at the end. If you're like really scared of freestyling, you would like take it into your own hands, like think about what your strengths are, your weaknesses are, and almost like preparing for the lesson. And I think that's so important. Just kind of it makes you take it into your own control, and that's really nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how have you felt as a whole that industry has been accommodating for you and your disability, whether it's like in class? Like, are teachers great at like counting you in and stuff like that, or at auditions, stuff like that?
Some teachers are really good with it, and some can be a bit not forgetful, but a bit I don't know, like sort of push me to one side a bit. I did have a bad experience with a cruise ship audition. This was like quite a few years ago now, when I was auditioning for cruise ships, which I wouldn't do now. that was before CTC, so Chris sorted me out. When I went along to this cruise ship audition, I know the name of the cruise, but I don't know if I should badmouth them. I don't know. But I went and
share the story. Share the story.
It was for Princess Cruises, if anyone's wondering. I went along to their open audition, and I went to the sign-up desk, and I just said my name and that. And I just said to them, by the way, I have got a disability. And at the time I was severely deaf, because obviously it's now profound, but at the time I was I just said to them, I'm severely deaf in both ears. I do wear hearing aids, but I struggle a bit with like being counted in and timings, and just in general, if there's something being said and I haven't heard it, I need to make sure I know what instructions you're giving. Just double check with me, just in case I haven't heard them. And they just sort of said, okay, sort of thing, fine. They weren't very enthusiastic about it, basically. They were just like, okay, fine. And then when I went into the room, I was stood at the front, because I told them that I needed to be stood at the front for it. But then halfway through, obviously, usually in audition, they switch the lines. But now this is what they should have done. They will say to me, are you okay at the front? Do you want to go back? What do you want to do? And then at least that's into my hand, because sometimes I quite like to go to the back so I can figure out the choreography in my own time as well. I don't always need to be at the front, but it's not when people say to me, what do you need? It's just a simple question. That's all I need people to say is, what do you need? And then I can just know what to do. But they just said, front line to the back. So I just had to go with it. I couldn't just stand there. So I just had to go with it. And then they put the aircon on, and they put it on so loudly that I couldn't hear what instructions or what they were saying at all. And when I had a question, I put my hand straight up. You know, when you're a bit like, I have a question. I didn't do that. I put my hand like straight up, and they just completely ignored me. So I just felt very like, the moment I said that I had a disability, they made their decision on what they wanted with me. It was a no, basically. That's what they made me feel like. I don't know if that was the case, but that's how it came across. It was like, if you've got a disability, no, we don't want you, thanks. And today that wouldn't be allowed. They can't do that today. They've got to do that. They've got to be accepting with every disability, not just mine. With the society and like social media today, it's not, definitely not acceptable.
Like, so I'm so happy you're here sharing your story as well, because it's just, the more we speak about it and stuff like that, it's just educating people, because sometimes honestly, like, people don't know. Like, they just don't know. And I know for me, when I went into a classroom and I had a student who was deaf, until I met you, I wouldn't have even thought twice to just be like, make sure I'm like in front of them when they're talking, so they can like just see my lips, if that helps, or like just counting in with the music, making sure music's loud, stuff like that. Had I not known you, I wouldn't have been able to just think on the spot, because I know, like, for you, your needs, that's like, you're like, but that's common sense. Do you know what I mean? But then everyone's normal's different, because nothing is normal. Everyone is different. There's no such thing as normal. So it's like, by sharing, we can help each other out, and by communicating and stuff like that. And of course, when you're a lot younger, that's quite hard, because like you were saying, you just want to like hide and fit in. But it's so good,
because you're still trying to figure it out yourself. You're trying to figure out what is going on, why you don't have hearing, and why you're not like everyone else. You're still trying to figure out why your ears, or why something isn't working, and you just think, oh, it's not working, so there's something wrong with me. I'm no good, or I don't know, I'm not perfect. So, and that's why at school there was all these teachers trying to help me, and I just I didn't want it because I was just trying to figure out why I was different. I just didn't understand. I couldn't understand what was wrong with me. And really, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just different in a good way. Like I have my own, I'm unique. Everyone who has everyone's like unique in their own way. And if you've got a disability, you're just unique. You're just special. Not special as in like special needs or anything.
In terms
Like,
of like the
special in a good way, like unique, like be proud. Okay, I don't have hearing, but I've got hearing aids. There's all these other things that I can do. It makes me different. So you just learn to like accept it and be like, okay, that's fine. I've not got good hearing, but that's okay. What can I do about it? Nothing. So let's just think of the positives rather than dwell on it for our lives.
That's so positive. So what advice would you give to someone who had just lost their hearing? If you could give them some advice.
I've got a little message in my notebook here. And I'm going to sort of try and make sure I say all of it because
I love notes.
I definitely want to say like I just said, you're not odd or weird. Like that's what I kept thinking about myself. Like, okay, I don't have hearing, so I'm weird. I'm different. I'm not normal. There's something wrong with me, so I'm odd. No, you're not. You're not odd or weird. You're definitely special. Like I just said, you're unique. You're special in a good way. And also like keep going. Like if you're at that stage at school, like I was, like figuring out what's going on. Why am I deaf? Why do I not have hearing? The doctors haven't given me an answer, so I'm left with no answer for this. Just keep going because it is going to get better. And also I would have loved it if I had someone older than me at that age doing what I'm doing now, which is why I'm doing this. So definitely like use that as help. So listen and be like, okay, that person is that person was where I am now, and now it's fine. Like nothing's gonna happen to you. You're gonna get through it. Keep going. Don't dwell on what's happening now and everything. You're figuring it out, and that's fine. Don't stress about that either. Don't be like, oh, I shouldn't be figuring this out. You're figuring it out. Take time to do that. It's fine to like have a moment and cry. I still do that.
All the time. I cry all the time. I love a cry.
Literally, I got upset about it last night. Like some days I'll be like, yes, I'm so confident. I don't know, I'm accepting my disability. I'm having it. I don't know, like I'm really accepting of it. It's fine. And then some days I'm like, oh, I can't join in on, I don't know, the online pub quiz because I don't know what everyone's saying. Everyone's having a laugh. And I'm just sat there like, what's the question?
That's the thing. It's so important that it's ongoing. Like sometimes you're going to have bad days, sometimes you're going to have good days, and that's okay. It's not all of a sudden going to everything be perfect, because it's a process, and as you get older and you come to new points in your life that you haven't experienced yet, you're going to have new challenges. So that's such a great point. I really like that. And you're so positive, so I feel like you're going to really enjoy my last question. If you had to pick one pro about your condition, what would it be?
I'll probably say
more than one, but what's the best thing? What's the best thing about being deaf?
It's probably that because it makes me different. It sounds weird, but I'm just saying that like I didn't want to be different at a young age. Like that is what I hated. I just wanted to fit in. But now I like it because it makes me different. Because how many people can say I'm different? How many people can say that they've got something that someone else hasn't got? Like, okay, you might have a different coloured hair or something, and that makes you you. But someone could dye their hair, really. I mean, not to defeat that purpose. Like, if you've got different colour hair, that's great. You do you. That's not what I'm trying to say. But if you've got a disability, you're even more unique. So use it, because you handle things different ways. Like I say about understanding music and timings and rhythms in dance classes, you have your own ways of picking up these steps and your own coping mechanisms that other people don't.
And you can appreciate music in a completely different way, and yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and it also makes you so much stronger as a person, because now I've got this, which I can imagine other people with other disabilities, you have daily constant battles of like, I can't do that, and you have to keep reminding yourself, that's fine, it's okay, it's fine. So imagine how strong you are, because you keep saying to yourself, it's fine, and you keep just being like, there's this hurdle here, and you're just like, that's fine, yeah, okay. And it makes you so much stronger for anything else that comes along, because what else can come along other than the battles that you face daily? Any other thing that comes along, like a no in an audition or something, is like nothing.
Nothing to, yeah, exactly. Like, I've got big demons, and that's it.
Yeah, it makes you so much stronger as a person. So think of it in the positive way rather than negatives. Like I said about what I would say to people who are going through it, if they were going through it now, ignore any negatives, because I know it's hard to do that, but just be like, if you're not accepting me, I don't want you in my life, because I'm not here for negativity, I'm here for positivity. I've had so many people in my life who have been negative about it, but instead of being like getting on with them, I just don't want to get on. I just basically just get rid of them. That's so bad. I don't want you. You're shedding negativity on me, so I only want positivity.
Keeping the energy good. So thank you so much for letting me interview you. And where can people find you on like social media, or if they want to take some of your classes?
Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm just lowercase, all lowercase, deaf_dancer. And now I just post my dance videos, and also I do classes on Fridays. At the moment, obviously, I'm doing them live, can't do them in person.
Quarantine!
Yeah. I've got one going on today, actually.
Yes, tell us about it.
Yeah, that's on Girl Gang, so it's spelled a bit differently. GURLL, 2 underscores, and then gang, all lowercase. So yeah, check that out if you want some dancing.
And when this will go up next week, so they know all the other live classes.
Yeah, it's happened.
It's already happened, but I'm sure you'll be doing loads more. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.